So we finished doing the flange on our box, and we're kind of going to set that to the side. I've been working on cleaning it up, so I really don't want to touch it too much. What we're going to focus now on, again, is cleaning our box up. And we're going to use a technique to really make sure we square the edges. So we're going to use, you can use two rolling sticks or a ruler and two rolling sticks, but basically any two surfaces that you can bring together to make a nice 90-degree angle, kind of like that. It's kind of like a mold to kind of push on the corners of your piece and make sure they're actually 90 degrees. And surprisingly, as much as mine look like they were 90 degrees, when I went to do this, some of them actually moved quite a bit. So I'm doing this now for a second time just to demonstrate and just get them all lined up. Now, we're going to think about the top and it being level. So if I get the right angle here, you can see that my top's a little wonky. You know, it's got a little bit of ridge to it, a little bit of dips, a little bit of high spots. So we're going to cut this and correct it. So to make sure we do this, we're going to find the lowest possible point on the box, which I believe is right here. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a ruler and we're going to measure what is that point. And that's going to be, so it's about 3.25 inches. So that's going to be our reference point for the entirety of our box. So what I'm going to do is just mark that as my lowest spot. And then I'm going to go to each corner of the box and I'm going to put it at 3.25, and that's going to be my guide point. So I'm going to do that at both corners, and then I'm going to go ahead and make a line between those two spots. Now what I'm doing here is I'm taking my lowest point and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to take every other part of the box and make it even with that point. So my box is completely level. So this one being my lowest side really isn't going to have that much cut. So we'll do the same thing for each side now, going to the second side and making sure that it lines up. See, I'm lining it from the bottom there at 3.25 inches. I'm going to make a line there at the top. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now, if you can see, when we make this line, there's going to be a little bit more of a difference here, and you can see how uneven it is, because that's level with the other side, and you can see how much extra clay is sticking up. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Even though I have that notch there, I'm going to double check it and make sure, yep, it's in the right spot. And then I'll go to the other side and go ahead and do the same thing. And then I'm going to connect them again using the smooth side of my ruler. These rulers have been used and abused over the years, so they're kind of beat up. And then I'm going to do my last one. And now I have clearly my two notches, so I don't even have to measure it. I can just go ahead and take my ruler and put it between those two sides. And you can see this is my highest side, I believe. So looking at this line, now we're going to go around in our second one. Remember, measure twice, cut once, so make sure the measurement's right. And now we're going to go through, and once again, it's really important that we keep our pin tool straight up and down because we don't want to miter the edge. That would screw it up even worse than what we have now. So we really want to pay attention and cut straight across, keeping that at a nice 90-degree angle. And you'll notice, one thing I don't like about pin tools is that they drag a lot. So you really have to support it with the rest of your hands. Remember all that nice smoothing work I did. I really try not to mess it up too much. Probably going to have to go and square it up again. But really just support it with both hands, and I apologize, my hands are right in the way. But really just cut along that line. Really try to get the cleanest cut possible. It's a nice little time to reflect on life when we can't see what's going on. Aren't we happy we're making things with clay? And the last one, oh, there we go again. There we go. You get a nice pin tool camera view of things. Really get to see what it looks like when we take a large amount of that clay off. And I'm going to go ahead and just turn the piece and continue that first cut that I was doing. And once again, the cut is a mystery. But all we have to do is follow the line. And now you can see that my walls are level. Now there is a lot of extra crap on the top. I'm going to go ahead and take my rib tool and my fingers and just try to ball up those little pieces and get them off and just try to clean it up a little bit. Then I'll go over it with a sponge and smooth it out. But really, now we know that we have a super level box. And now you might be wondering, well, is it still 4 inches? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, when I was measuring before, it was a little bit over 4 inches. So even if it's a smidge under, I'd say having a level surface is better than having your box height completely perfect. Because if it's completely perfect, but the top is all cattywampus and the lid doesn't sit on there right, it's just not going to be as nice to look at. So really, getting as clean and level and smooth as possible is good. And now we're going and attacking it with the water and the sponge and really trying to get it smoothed out. So now I'm going to go ahead and square my corners again and just double check that they're square, and you can see that I did warp them a little bit when I made this cut, so it's always good to do that throughout the drying process, because once it gets to leather hard, that's about maybe your last chance to do it. By then it might be too stiff to do this, so it's best to get it done while it's still, as it's drying out, to keep checking it as you're working with it, just to make sure that your corners are staying square. And it looks like I got them all pretty square. Maybe put a little extra pressure there, and we seem to be all good. So now is an important time in the process. It's not quite leather hard, but I'm going to tell you this anyway, is to flip your piece over and write your name on the bottom. You can write your first and last name, your first initial and your last name. I prefer that you write your whole first and last name and your period number, because then I can't confuse anybody, because I've had multiple people with the same names, even some people with similar last names, and don't even start with just initials. So, for instance, for me, there's only one Mr. Podell in the classroom, so I'm going to go ahead and write Mr. Podell on here. And given that all your projects aren't going to be quite this big, I understand that you might have to shorten it a little bit, but at least if I could put J. Podell if I was a student, or, if my name was John Doe, I could put J. Doe, and then just a P and the number, and let's just pretend I'm in period 1. So now we know it's yours, you know it's yours. Once it's fired, no one else can steal it and claim, no, I swear that's my box, I made it, because they all look different once they're fired, and people might think, no, that's mine for sure. And it's not a bad idea to also do it on the inside of your lid. Now on the inside of your lid, you could just do your initials, because the chance of, that getting mixed up and it fitting on someone else's box are not very likely. But go ahead and do your initials on the inside too. And now I just smoothed it out and cleaned it up, and it's looking pretty good. So I took some time, a little 5-minute break here, and I went ahead and made some various handles and attachments we can put on there. So I've got my lid, and I've got my flange on the bottom, and I'm trying to pick what kind of things I could put on there. You could do just a little sphere and score and slip it on. You could do kind of like a little teacup-esque handle, got like a little square and a heart. And notice with the heart, I cut the bottom off, and that's very important. So basically, you can score and slip anything on the top of your box, and you can do the same for the sides. I mean, the designs, this is the fun part. Once you got the structure down, you can really get creative with the textures and pieces you attach. You can really put it on there however you want. You can get creative. You could do big arching handles. You could do thematic handles that match a theme, like sports, or dragons, or birds, or whatever else you're into. You can see how these different handles could fit on there and make a nice little lid. Got a nice little square lid. And like I said with the heart, it's important. I had to cut off the tip or else I wouldn't have any surface area. And it's important to have enough surface area to at least attach it on there. And I say ½ an inch at least is good. Or else when you fire it, the likelihood of it breaking off is pretty high. So just wanted to demonstrate some ways. And you could also take this, like I said, score and slip it and just attach it to the side. Or you could carve a heart in. Like I said, this is really your time to get creative with your designs. Now for this project, it is required that you have at least one attached piece and one carved piece. Get creative with it, and once you figure this out, your box is done. So go out there and make something cool.